Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. And for today's video, I'm going to share to you some review questions. So I prepared several questions from the NetAcad, so which I'm going to also discuss on why is that the answer. So without further ado, let's get started. So we have here our first question. So what is one difference between the client server and the peer-to-peer network models? So the data transfer speeds depend on the number of factors, including the amount of traffic, so the quality of service imposed, and the network media. So transfers speeds are not dependent on the network model type. So file transfer can occur using the client server model or the peer-to-peer model. A data transfer between the device is acting in the client role, and the device is acting on the serve role can occur in both peer-to-peer and the client-server networks. So that is the difference between the client-server and the peer-to-peer network models. So let's proceed to our next questions, wherein when IPv4 addressing is manually configured on web server, which proper of the IPv4 configuration identifies the network and the host portion of the IPv4 address? So the answer here should be there are several components that needs to be entered when configuring the IPv4 for the end devices. So the IPv4 addresses uniquely identifies an end-to-end an end device to the network. So a subnet mask, so it determines the network address portion and the host portion of the IP address. So, we have also the default gateway. In the default gateway, the IP address of the router interface used for communicating with the host in other network. So, and we have also the DNS server address, the DHCP server, which is not configured manually on end devices because it will automatically provide by an DHCP server when an end devices requests an IP address. So next question is what is the process of dividing a data stream into smaller pieces before transmission? So the answer here is segmentation, because the segmentation is the data streams with cause data significant network congestions if they were transmitted as a single large stream of bits. So to increase the efficiency, data streams segmented into smaller, more manageable pieces, so which are transmitted over the network. So that is all about the segmentation and the answer. So next question is how many usable address are available on the 192.168.1.0/27 network. So a slash 27 mask is the same as the 255.255.255.224. So this leaves 5 host bits. So with 5 host bits, 32 IP addresses are possible. So but one address represent the subnet number, and one address represent the broadcast address. Thus, 30 addresses can be used to assign to a network the devices. So the next question is what is the purpose of the command ping colon 1? So the purpose of this command is to test the internal configuration of an IPv6 host. So the address colon 1 is an IPv6 loopback address, which use the command ping colon 1 to test the internal IP stack to ensure that it is configured and functioning correctly. So it does not test the reachability to any external device, nor does it confirms the IPv6 addresses and properly configured on the host. So next question is uh, which switching method has the lowest level of latency? So the switching method that has the lowest level of latency is the fast forward. So because the fast forward switching begins to forward a frame reading destination MAC address, which resulting in lowest latency. So the fragment free reads the first 64 bytes before forwarding. So and while the store forward has the highest latency because it reads the entire frame before beginning to forward it. So both fragment free and fast forward are types of cut through switching. So let's proceed to our next question. If a device receives an Ethernet frame of 60 bytes, what will it do? So what happens here? It will draft the frame because the Ethernet standards define the minimum frame size as 64 bytes or bits, as a frame less than 64 bytes is considered as a collision fragment or runt frame is and automatically uh, discarded or dropped by the receiving devices. Next question is what are two characteristics of Ethernet MAC addresses? So the two characteristics of Ethernet MAC addresses are they are globally unique. They are expressed as 12 hexadecimal digits. So an Ethernet MAC address is a 48-bit binary value expressed as 12 hexadecimal digits. So MAC addresses must be globally unique by design, and MAC addresses are in flat structure and thus they are not uh, routable on the internet. Serial interfaces do not use the MAC addresses. So those are the two characteristics of the Ethernet MAC address. Next question is the during the encapsulation process, what occurs at the data link layer for the PC connected to an internet network? So it occurs here the physical address is dead. So the Ethernet frame includes the source and the destination physical addresses, so that the trailer includes a CRFC value from the frame check sequence field to allow the receiving device to determine if the frame has been changed as error during the transmission. Next question is what unique address is embedded in Ethernet NIC and used for communication on the internet network? So what unique address is embedded? It should be the MAC address. Why? Because the MAC address is a 48-bit address that is burned into every Ethernet NIC. Each MAC address is unique throughout the world. So those are the unique address. And then next question is what layer is responsible for routing messages through internet networking, the TCP and the IP model? So the layer that is responsible for routing messages through the network is the internet. So the TCP and the IP models consist of four layers: application, transport, internet, and the network access. So of these four layers, it is the internet layers that is responsible for routing messages, and the session layers is not part of the TCP and the IP model part, but it is rather part of the OSI model. So the next question, what function does pressing the tab key have when entering a command on the iOS? So basically what the tab command do is it completes the remainder of the partially typed word in the command. So pressing the tab key after a command has been partially typed will cause the iOS to complete the rest of the command. Next question is, which connections provides a secure CLI session with encryption to Cisco networking devices? So of course it is the SSH connections, because a CLI session using a secure shell provides enhanced security because the SSH supports a strong password and encryption during the transport of the session data. So next question. After making configuration changes on the Cisco switch, a network administrator issues a copy running config startup config command. So what is the result of issuing this command? So what happens here is the new configuration will be loaded if the switch is restarted. So when copying a config startup config command, the content of the current operating configuration replaces the startup configuration file stored in the NVRAM. So the configuration file saved in the NVRAM will be loaded when the device is restarted. So next question is, a company is expanding its business to another country. So all branch office must remain connected to corporate headquarters at all times. Which network is required to support this requirement? So a network technology is required to have a support the WAN, because a local area network LAN or LAN normally connects end users and network users, serves over limited geographical area only, and the wireless LAN or the WLAN serves as the same purpose as a LAN but use wireless technology. So a metropolitan WAN as a large geographical area such as wide area networks or WAN connects networks together with over a large geographic area. So one is the can spites the countries or the globe. So one should be the answer. So next question. A user is unable to reach the website when typing the http www.cisco.com in the web browser, but can reach the same site by typing the 72.163.4.161. So what is the issue? So the issue here is in the DNS server, or the domain name service. So it is used to translate a web address to an IP address. So the address of the DNS server is provided via DCPH to a host computer. So next question. Where are Cisco iOS debug output message just sent by default? So the answer is in the console line. So debug messages like the iOS log messages are being sent to the console line by default. Sending this message to the terminal lines requires the terminal monitor command. So, which command would technician use to see the layer 1 and the layer 2D? Uh, Next question is, which command would the technician use to see the layer 1 and the layer 2 details of the switch port? The answer here should be the show interface, which the show interface command can be used on both routers and switches to speed or duplex media type and MAC address, port type, and another layer 1 or layer 2 related information. So next question is, when applied on a router, which command would help mitigate a brute force password attack against the router? So the a command that will help you to mitigate brute force attack password attack is against the lag block for 60 attempts 5 within 60. So the login block for command sets the limit on the maximum number of failed login attempts allowed within a defined period of time. So it limits the exceed. No further logins are allowed for the specified period of time. Next question is, a wireless host needs to request an IP address. So what protocol would be used to process the request? So the protocols that are used here should be the DHCP, because the DHCP protocol is used to request, issue, and manage the IP addressing information, CSMA/CD, in the access method using the wired Ethernet. The next question is, when planning for network growth, where in the network should the packet tracer capture take place to assess the network traffic? So the answer here should be on as many different network segments as possible, because some types of traffic will be on this specific network segment. So packets captures for analysis should be performed as many segments as possible. So next question, which domain name would be an example of a top level domain? So an example of this is the .com. So a top level domain represents a country or a type of organization such as .com or .edu. So next question is, what is a key characteristic of the peer-to-peer networking model? So the key characteristic of the peer-to-peer networking model is the resource sharing without a dedicated server. So the peer-to-peer or the P2P network models allows the data printer a resource sharing without a dedicated server. And the last question is, what is the TCP mechanism used in the congestion avoidance? So the TCP mechanism used here is the sliding window. So the TCP uses windows to attempt to manage the rate of transmission to the maximum flow that the network that has destination device can support, while minimizing loss and the transmissions. So basically that is all about in this video. So if you like this video and if you learned something from this video, please leave a like and share, and thank you for watching. Bye bye.